Hi, I'm Feng. If you want to eat 4 pizzas in one, here's pizza alle quattro stagioni, which we're going to make traditional and extra large in the Arc XL. Let's go. All right, let's get our dough out. Gonna start with some 270 gram dough balls and into our semolina. Toss to coat that in the flour and start pressing out the crust. So the great thing about pizza alle quattro stagioni is that you've got something for everyone on one pizza, and it's perfect if you're in the mood for variety. Our pizza, a little toss. That looks pretty good. Because it is warm here, I'm just gonna put some extra semolina al counter to make sure that our base doesn't stick. For our sauce, it's a classic tomato base, and then bring on some Parmigiano Reggiano. I like a lot of it. I've got here some fresh mozzarella that I've already drained to remove some excess liquid. Fresh mozzarella is around 50% water, so that's why it's a good idea to drain it before using on pizza so that you don't get a soggy base. Now for the seasons, let's start with autumn, and that's represented with mushrooms. So these are just button mushrooms that I've sliced thinly, and we'll lay these onto the first quarter of our pizza. Then summer, we have fresh basil leaves, so just putting those down onto our pizza. So you can add the basil whenever you like, depending on whether you prefer it post-bake or pre-bake, but I like it both ways, so I'm gonna do both. So the ingredients we're using today are what's found in a traditional pizza alle quattro stagioni, but if, for example, you can't get artichokes where you are, feel free to substitute it with something else that's available in spring. These are artichokes that have already been prepared. If it's a little bit chunky, you can cut it in half lengthwise just to make it a little bit easier to eat. And we put that onto the third quarter. And since these are soaked in olive oil, I'm just gonna use some of this olive oil on our basil leaves. All right, so we've got our 3 quarters down. Now our 4th quarter is winter. And for that, you can use cooked ham or prosciutto, or for a vegetarian take, you can even use black olives for this. We're using prosciutto today, so I'm gonna add that post-bake, which means that this pizza is ready for the oven. So we've got some new peels that have come out with the Arc XL, and we're gonna give them a spin today. This is called the balanced turning peel, so that's what I'm using to turn the pizza today, and we're also using the balanced launch peel, which is like a total weapon. And then give our pizza a final stretch. So when you're doing the final stretch on the pizza, you're mainly focused on stretching the outer rim out, and you're trying to avoid stretching the center out because if you do that on all sides, it's gonna end up being a little bit thin. We can redistribute our toppings or even top up if we're seeing some extra real estate, and into the oven it goes. Nice. So as usual, we're gonna wait for the side near the flame to pop up before we give our pizza its first turn. Because there's so much space, you can bring the pizza towards the front of the oven to give it a turn, which is what you would normally do in a huge restaurant-size oven. All right, look at that. After baking, I like to put the pizza on a cooling rack so that it allows steam to escape from the bottom of the pizza so you won't get a soggy base. With the pizza on the cooling tray, we're going to add our post-bake toppings, which is our prosciutto for winter. So now that we've made our traditional one, let's make a bigger one since we've got so much oven space. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually turn the oven off. We need to drop the temperature of the oven down to about 350. The bigger pizza is gonna need longer to cook through because we want a slice that can support its own weight. You might have already guessed it, but a bigger pizza needs a bigger dough ball. These are 400 gram sourdough dough balls. As usual, we're just gonna toss to coat that in the flour. There's a little bit of a difference in technique when you're stretching out a larger pizza for sharing. Instead of kind of migrating air towards the crust, we're actually going to kind of dimple out our pizza and stretch it out gently to start with. And that's actually already looking really good. I'm gonna pop the bubbles. This is optional. And also just kind of reinforce the border of the crust. Okay, this pizza is looking large. You want to leave the middle of your pizza a little bit lighter on sauce so that your base doesn't get soggy. And actually, for like a lower, slower bake, I also like to hit the crust with some olive oil. I just like the way that it crisps up the pizza, you know? So I've just turned the oven back on so that we can get it to temp for our bake now that we've got half of the pizza topped. Taking off the excess semolina as usual. So then we're gonna give it our final stretch. Ooh. All right, that is our second pizza done. Our bigger sharing pizza. Again, we're gonna let the base steam out a little bit. While this is steaming out, I'm gonna add our post-bake topping. So we're gonna start with that prosciutto. Beautiful. And then for our artichoke quarter, I also prepared these crispy artichoke leaves in the oven earlier when it was preheating. We're gonna hit both pizzas with the post-bake basil before finally transferring the pizza to its serving board. And here we have our 2 pizza alle 4 stagioni. Let's slice it up and eat it. Welcome! These are both pizza alle 4 stagioni, but this one has just come out of the oven. So you guys can have the fresh one and then I'll eat the one that's been sitting out a little bit longer. Each quarter basically is a different season.
I'm definitely going straight in for this basil.
Yeah. All right, cheers!
Cheers! Oh, wow. So good.
Wow.
No. So good.
For the recipe, head to Gozney.com.